So this video was going to be about the other two sets that I intend to design for my Bionicle G3 series, whatever you want to call it. In fact, I just got done recording that video, but I stopped myself because of excitement. At the end of that video, I talked about the 5 custom pieces that I designed for this theme, excluding the Bionicle masks that I made for the minifigures themselves. I only designed 5 pieces that are designed to fit not only these sets, but LEGO system as a whole. None of these pieces need to appear elsewhere, and one of these pieces is magical to me. It is that piece that started this video. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, but I wanted to go ahead and show you this because it's hard to contain my excitement about this. The piece is something that LEGO does not currently have. In fact, it's not even something they necessarily need. But it is an interesting piece, and we're going to hop on over into Studio to check it out. The piece I give to you is this one right here in white. I call it the 4-lobed plant because that is what I use it for. It is a plant detail on many, if not all, of the sets that I designed. But it doesn't need to exist. It doesn't do anything functionally outside of, well, covering up 4 studs in an X shape and thus allowing you to connect an axle at an X as well. And that's cool, I guess. Is it necessary? No. And there's something else that does something kind of similar to this already. In fact, it is the piece that inspired this design, this 2x2 plate with studs on top. So why did I go out of my way to make this lobed piece in the first place? Obviously, clearly, it is different. For one thing, the axle aligns with the anti-studs beneath it, rather than being offset at a 45-degree angle. That's no big deal, of course. This would function the exact same if those were rotated 45 degrees. Rather, what makes this a little more interesting is that this does not have studs on top at all. Functionally, it is a tile for all intents and purposes. But what it does have is rounded tops. Why is that important? Well, one function specifically. In fact, I designed this piece for a function. It wouldn't justify its own existence as just a functional piece, at least not in my opinion, so affording it the capability to act as a decorative plant as well, or a rocky piece, whatever you want to consider it, is important, but not necessary. No, this piece appears right here, in this small bat build in the copper cave, or copper mine, rather. What does this piece do? It is responsible for, honestly, one of my favorite functions that I've ever come up with, and it's dead simple. But that's because this is a stack of functions, if you will. This is a bat at the end of the day. You can see it has these little black beady eyes, nothing fancy going on here. And of course, those could be changed. But what's important about this is that this has wheels. Nothing fancy going on there, but you can see gears and maybe start to put together, okay, what is happening? Well, what's happening is this. As those gears turn, so does that 4-petaled plant, and it collides with these connectors, which, although not attaching to the wings, they ride in such a position that the wings will move when they do. There's no pieces here that are clashing, nothing here is being stressed, but the wings will flap up and down, and that's exactly the point of this function. As the bat rolls forward and backward, the wings flap up and down. This is something that I have tested in real life, and it does work. In fact, I did not test it with the piece that I designed, I tested it with the 2x2 plate, and it works there as well. However, that plate, because those studs have straight walls on the side, essentially creating the profile of a square wave, I need something a little bit smoother so that the wings would articulate with a little less effort, a little more fluidly. Why was that necessary? Well, this is where those stack of functions come in. You see, this set in and of itself has one other function, but it is a major function. By turning this knob here, if I go around the back side of this set, you will see that there's a lot of panels and plates that just don't do anything. They just flatten the back end of it, so this can be put up against a wall or something and displayed. But there's a lot of hollow space underneath here as well. All that hollow space is filled in mostly by structural supports and this chain of treads rather. And on those treads rides one very specific piece, a piece that thankfully LEGO still makes from its CCBS Star Wars legacy. This piece right here, large figure armor plate small. Very silly name, but it's a very useful piece because it has these double pins on it that will actually connect reasonably well to these treads. It is not perfect, and I would love a redesign of these treads to accommodate this better, but that's a very minor gripe. This does work, and it works well, and I'm perfectly fine with honestly stressing one tread to get this function out of this. Upon turning that knob, for all intents and purposes, that will turn a gear directly beneath this and roll that tread forward, thus rolling forward this armor plate that is connected to it and allowing the minecart that is currently attached to roll along the entire track. In fact, you could see another one of those armor pieces right here. So why have two? Well, save for the fact that there are actually two minecarts, one in the set and one in a pod that we'll talk about here in a moment, because I have actually showcased this build in a previous video. That actually plays an important role, because this set does not just come with a minecart, it comes with two bats. One in dark orange, one in yellow, but the colors don't matter. What's important here is what you see in front of you. These large figure armor, small, whatever you want to call them, fit perfectly beneath both of these figures, kind of by accident, if I'm being honest. And the carts, or the bats for that matter, will ride at the exact height they need to roll along the actual track itself. The clear head here only being a guide for the front of this bat so that it can roll and, keep its position, turn when the track turns, go straight when the track goes straight, etc. But what happens now is that when that tread moves, it moves this armor plate along with it, and as it does, it drags the bat, which turns those wheels, and thus the wings flap. That is what I mean by a stacking function. The bat's function is complemented by the fact that this minecart moves. It's such a beautiful contraption, in my opinion. And that's not trying to brag about it. It's a simple concept. It's just something I've never seen done before. And I think the best part about it is that there are no physical connections here. You're not connecting this bat via axles and pins to the base. You are just setting it on the track and watching it go. And that is it. That is all it takes. And this is something I think LEGO could expand upon further, because obviously this bat does not need to be the only thing that can take advantage of this, but the fact that it can in the first place is honestly incredible. As you can see in the file here, the bat is limited in its width, in fact intentionally so. These wings are just too wide to go through this little cave at the beginning of this map here, of this board game. But the minecart can continue indefinitely, in fact, which means in all technicality, you could even open this up and motorize it if you wanted to have a train of minecarts going around. And because there are about 1 billion of these treads in here, you could add as many of these shells as you want and literally make a train of these minecarts, having one follow along the next. And I think that that's pretty cool, which is why I developed the pods to have a minecart in and of themselves. In fact, it is right here. The exact same minecart, just a slightly different coloration. And in fact, I've also built this minecart in real life, though I don't know where it's at the moment. Hopefully it's behind me. This is... I don't know how I want to describe it, If you've ever designed something that feels perfect, and that's not to say that it is. There are absolutely things here that could be improved. Parts could be reduced in the count here, etc. Here's the thing. This set that you see on screen, this entire build, not even including the Scorpion, which we're completely glazing over there with its catapult function, is lovely. Of anything that I have built from system, I am probably most proud of this, because of how well it fits into a world, the fact that it sort of has this story and even conflict built in with these bats bats chasing you around. So many masks floating around in here as well. Not to mention the gold masks, the copper masks, but each bat having its own mask, and 5 characters here. There's so much to really love about this. It even includes Nobua. But anyway, as I've mentioned, I've talked about this build here in a previous video, so that's not the point of what I'm doing here. Rather, this is all focusing on the magic of one piece, as I mentioned toward the beginning of the video. That said, the pieces that I designed are not specific. They're not too specialized, at least in my opinion. Yes, this piece is arguably the most specialized that I have created, but that's why I created it, to have multiple functions. And in and of itself, it is something that LEGO can use, right? It is functionally a 4-tooth gear designed for system, which is admittedly pretty cool. I did not personally design this to fit in with other gears that exist in the system right now, mostly because I just don't know the geometry of those pieces yet. I'm not familiar enough with them to do so, but I think LEGO would design this piece with those in mind so that it could potentially mesh with them, opening and expanding its usability even further. But still, I think that this is an incredible little piece, and just to showcase what it can do, this build exists. One piece justifies this whole thing, in my opinion. So, at the end of the day, I would love to build this in real life. There's no possibility of that, and I say that in the sense that many of these pieces don't exist, at least not in the colors that you see here, right? And obviously a few of them don't exist at all because I designed them, and I designed them because LEGO doesn't have them yet. These are pieces I think LEGO could make. In fact, this is honestly a wonderful piece that I would love to see in LEGO's repertoire as well, in their palette, right? I'd maybe modify it a little bit further to make it a little easier to remove off of plates, but it is essentially a plate joiner that is decorative, and that's cool. However, there are a lot of pieces here that I think are just chef's kiss, right? And most of them are LEGO's designs, not mine. At the end of the day, the reason this is arguably my favorite set, at least for this series that I've designed, is a combination of things. It doesn't have the largest, most intimidating Rahi of any of my designs, rightfully so, and I did not design it that way intentionally. Rather, this is too small but well-stated Rahi with a very specific purpose, and they function on their own too. The nicest part about them is that they function without the set at all. If you wanted to build just one of these bats, you can. All of the parts exist, minus that flower piece, as mentioned, and the 2x2 round brick will do the job. So it's just a nice little thing to have, you know? And at the end of the day, I really think that this looks lovely. If I had this on a shelf, I don't know if I'd ever need to buy Bionicles or Legos again. I'd be happy. I'd be set. I'd be content. So, as I mentioned, this was originally supposed to be a video talking about the other sets that I've designed for this. In the last video, I briefly touched on the Deep Jungle build, which I showcased just a picture of, but we will go into further detail on that in a future video, hopefully here soon, because it has changed since that picture. And we'll also talk about the Ancient Bridge, the last of the builds that I want to go over, and that is for the Fire Village. Not that it is a large set, it's not that big, but, you know, I figure I'll save it since it's the only one I haven't revealed here yet. Of course, if you are interested in any of these sets, you can check them out over on Discord. No instructions for any of them just yet. I don't know if I'll have time to make instructions, but at the very least, I will try to make the file for all of these available for you freely over on Discord. So if you have Studio, which is a free program, I'd encourage you to download it, to learn it. And yeah, that way you can just open these files whenever you want to just look at something that's kind of interesting. Whether I design it, whether you design it, whether somebody else designs it, and maybe render it for your own purposes, modify it, or just play around and have fun. I'll see you all in the next one. So if you did enjoy this video, or if you didn't, I guess, make sure to leave a like, a dislike, or subscribe. I was going to say describe, sure. And if you'd like to describe your thoughts in the comments, well, you know where those are. And you can also check out the Discord, Instagram, and Patreon, all linked in the description. And I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.